You have been lied to. From the very first day you stepped into a classroom, a very specific, very dangerous narrative was etched into your brain. It is the narrative of the linear climb. We are taught that life is a vending machine. You put in a specific amount of effort and you receive a specific, proportional reward. If you want a better grade, you stay in the library until the sun comes up. If you want a promotion, you stay at your desk until the cleaners arrive. If you want to be the best version of yourself, you must optimize every single waking second of your existence. We are told that if we work twice as hard, we will achieve twice as much. That the formula for success is simply a matter of multiplying input. But have you ever stopped to analyze the actual trajectory of your life's greatest moments? The moments where you made a massive leap forward, where you experienced an epiphany, where you created something out of nothing. Were they the result of grinding yourself into the ground? Or did they happen when you least expected it, during a moment of profound, seemingly unproductive stillness? Welcome to 2026, the era of the high-performance trap. We are living in a time where we have more productivity tools than any human being in history. We have artificial intelligence agents managing our emails. We have wearable tech tracking our REM cycles, and we have calendars that are color-coded to the minute. We are obsessed with the squeeze. We believe that if we can just find one more ounce of willpower, one more hour of focus, or one more biohack, we will finally hit that massive breakthrough we have been chasing for years. But I want you to stop and look at the reality of the world around you. Look at the people in your office, in your creative circles, and look at yourself. We are the most optimized generation in history, yet we are also the most burnt out, the most creatively stagnant, and the most anxious. We are running faster than ever, but it feels like the treadmill is simply speeding up beneath our feet, leaving us stuck in the exact same place we started. There is a silent, frustrating paradox at the heart of human performance that no one in the hustle culture world wants to admit. The harder you try to force a breakthrough, the further it retreats from you. Think about the last time you had a truly great idea, a light bulb moment, an insight that actually changed the way you see the world, the way you work, or the way you live. Did it happen while you were staring at a blank spreadsheet at 2:00 a.m., white-knuckling your keyboard in a fit of rage and exhaustion? Did it happen while you were frantically scrolling through networks trying to find inspiration from people who are just as lost as you are? Probably not. It happened when you were in the shower. It happened when you were walking the dog and forgot your phone in the hallway. It happened when you were staring out a train window, bored out of your mind, with no input and no agenda. This is the paradox of effort. It is the biological and philosophical truth that your greatest breakthroughs do not come from the squeeze. They come from the release. In this deep dive, we are going to dismantle the myth of sheer willpower. We are going to explore why your brain actually shuts down under the pressure of trying, and how you can leverage a concept called strategic detachment to achieve more by doing significantly less. We are moving beyond the hustle. We are moving into the flow. Let's start by looking at what I call the optimization trap. We are living in a culture that has mistaken busyness for importance. In 2026, being busy is a status symbol. If you ask someone how they are doing and they do not say flat out or exhausted, we almost assume they aren't working hard enough. But there is a fundamental difference between activity and achievement. You can be incredibly active, running in circles, answering 500 notifications, taking every meeting, and organizing your digital desktop, without achieving a single thing of lasting value. The optimization trap is the belief that every second of your life must be useful. We have reached a point where even our hobbies have become jobs. We do not just go for a run. We track our pace and upload it to an app to compete with strangers. We do not just read a book. We listen to a summary at double speed so we can consume more information. We are treating our minds like hard drives that need to be filled, rather than gardens that need time to grow. This leads us to a fascinating philosophical concept known as the law of reversed effort. It was a core tenet for thinkers like Alan Watts and Aldous Huxley. The law states a simple, frustrating truth. The more you consciously try to do something, the more difficult it is to actually do it. Or, put another way, whenever we try to force a result, we create a counterpressure that works against us. Think about a person who is learning to swim. If they are terrified of drowning, they will thrash. They will use every muscle in their body to fight the water, trying to force themselves to stay afloat. What happens? They tire themselves out in 30 seconds and sink. But the person who knows how to float does the opposite. They relax. They let the water hold them. They use the least amount of effort possible, and because of that, they stay on the surface. The same thing happens with your creativity and your problem solving. When you white-knuckle a project, you are thrashing in the water. You are creating psychological friction. You are telling your brain that the stakes are so high and the pressure is so great that it enters a state of survival mode. And survival mode is the absolute enemy of breakthrough thinking. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the mechanics of cognitive friction. Your brain is not a single, unified machine. It is a collection of networks that often work in opposition to each other. When you are trying hard, when you are focused, grinding, and pushing, you are heavily utilizing what neurologists call the executive control network. This is centered in your prefrontal cortex. It is the part of your brain that handles logic, math, following directions, and staying on task. It is the boss of your brain. The executive network is vital for execution. It is what helps you finish a task once you know what the task is. But it has a massive flaw. It is incredibly narrow. It is like a spotlight. It illuminates one tiny area with intense brightness, but it leaves everything else in total darkness. When you are in hustle mode, your spotlight is so bright and so focused that you lose the ability to see the big picture. You lose the ability to make novel connections between distant ideas. This is why, when you are stressed out trying to solve a problem, you keep coming up with the same 3 boring, ineffective solutions. Your prefrontal cortex is filtering out any information that it deems irrelevant. But in the world of breakthroughs, the irrelevant information is usually where the answer is hiding. On the other side of the brain, we have the default mode network. This is what researchers call the imagination network. It is what becomes active when you are not focusing on anything in particular, when you are daydreaming, or when your mind is wandering during a long drive. This network is not a spotlight, it is a floodlight. It spreads out across the entire landscape of your memory, your emotions, and your knowledge. It starts connecting point A to point Z in ways the boss of your brain never would have allowed. Cognitive friction occurs when you try to force the executive network to do a job that only the default mode network can handle. It is like trying to win an art competition by using a calculator. No matter how hard you press the buttons, the calculator is never going to paint a masterpiece. When you feel that mental wall, that feeling of being stuck, frustrated, and drained, that is the sound of your executive network grinding its gears. It is trying to force an insight through sheer willpower, but insight does not work that way. Insight requires a release of the spotlight so the floodlight can turn on. In our 2026 world, we have almost entirely destroyed the conditions required for the default mode network to function. We have declared war on boredom. Think about it. When was the last time you were actually bored? Not waiting for a video to load bored, but truly, deeply bored with nothing to do, probably years ago. The second we have a gap in our day, waiting for a coffee, standing in an elevator, sitting on the bus, we pull out our phones. We fill the gap with input. We scroll through content, we check the news, we listen to a podcast. We think we are being productive by filling these gaps, but we are actually starving our brains of the very thing they need to produce a breakthrough. We are keeping the executive network on 24/7. We are keeping the spotlight on until the bulb is about to burn out. And then we wonder why we feel uninspired. We wonder why we haven't had a big idea in months. It is because we haven't given the backflow of progress a chance to settle. I want to introduce you to the concept of the backflow of progress. In engineering and fluid dynamics, backflow is what happens when pressure is released and a system finds its equilibrium again. Human progress works in exactly the same way. We think of progress as a straight, upward line. Effort plus effort plus effort equals result. But if you look at the most successful people in history, the true innovators, the philosophers, the world changers, their path looks very different. Their path is effort, then release, then result. The effort is the loading phase. This is when you read the books, you do the research, you practice the skill, and you struggle with the problem. This phase is necessary. You have to feed the system with data. But the breakthrough almost never happens during the loading phase. The breakthrough happens during the release phase, the moment you walk away. Think about the most famous eureka moments in human history. Archimedes didn't discover the laws of displacement while he was sitting at his desk staring at a math board. He discovered them when he finally sat down in a bathtub and relaxed. Isaac Newton didn't figure out gravity while hustling in a lab. He was sitting under a tree. In 2026, we have forgotten the value of the gap. We fill every gap with a podcast, a short, or an AI prompt. We never give our brains the backflow time needed to turn effort into insight. We are all input and no integration. This brings us to a hard truth that many of us do not want to hear. Your ego is often the biggest obstacle to your success. When we try hard, what we are really doing is letting our ego take the wheel. The ego wants to prove that it is in control. It wants to believe that it can force the world to bend to its will. It wants the credit for the breakthrough. So it stays up late, it drinks the 5th cup of coffee, and it refuses to walk away from the screen. But the ego is a terrible creator. The ego is obsessed with performance anxiety. It is obsessed with what people will think. It is obsessed with perfection. All of that noise creates a massive amount of mental static. It is like trying to listen to a whisper in a room where someone is screaming. The whisper is your next great idea. The screaming is your ego demanding a result right now. Strategic detachment is the art of telling your ego to sit down. It is the deliberate choice to step back at the very peak of your frustration. Most people do the opposite. When they get frustrated, they try even harder. They think, if I just push for one more hour, I will get it. But that is the simulation mentality we talked about before. You are treating yourself like a digital character with a skill bar that only goes up. You are forgetting that you are a biological organism that requires cycles of tension and release. When you feel that white-knuckle sensation when your shoulders are tight, your jaw is clenched, and you have been staring at the same paragraph for 20 minutes, that is your signal to stop. Not to push through. To stop. That is the moment where more effort will actually lead to less progress. This is the point of diminishing returns. If you continue to push past that point, you aren't being disciplined. You are being inefficient. You are creating garbage work, work that is low quality, full of errors, and devoid of any real insight. And worse, you are draining the fuel tank of your creativity for tomorrow. The secret to a deep dive like this is understanding that we have to move from the theory into the practical engineering of our lives. We have to learn how to replace the hustle culture with a framework of rhythmic stillness. This is not about being lazy. It is not about doing nothing. It is about doing the right things at the right intensity, and then having the courage to do absolutely nothing at all. In the next section of this breakdown, we are going to look at exactly how to engineer these breakthroughs. We are going to talk about the incubation period, the power of low dopamine activities, and how you can recalibrate your personal success metrics so that you value the quality of your insights over the quantity of your exhaustion. We are going to learn how to surrender to the breakthrough. But before we move on, I want you to ask yourself a very honest question. When was the last time you allowed yourself to truly let go of a problem before it was solved? When was the last time you trusted your brain enough to walk away from the desk while the answer was still missing? If the answer is never, then you aren't a high performer. You are a prisoner of your own effort. You are a puppeteer who is so focused on pulling the strings that you haven't noticed the play has stopped. It is time to let go of the strings. It is time to see what happens when you stop trying to play the game and start letting the game play you. Let us establish the why further. We understand that our 2026 obsession with hyperproductivity is a cage, and that our brains are biologically wired to find breakthroughs only when we release the white-knuckle grip of the ego. But now we have to face the most difficult part of the paradox of effort, the practice. How do you actually try less in a world that demands more? How do you engineer a life that favors rhythmic stillness over frantic output? It begins with a concept called the incubation period. This is a term used in both biology and creativity. When a bird sits on an egg, it is not doing anything visible. It is simply staying present. It is providing the warmth and the environment for life to happen on its own schedule. You cannot force an egg to hatch faster by squeezing it. In fact, if you squeeze it, you kill the very thing you are trying to create. Your ideas are the same. Most of us are squeezing the egg. We have an idea or a problem and we want the solution now. We want the hatchling to appear immediately. But the brain requires an incubation period, a time where the data you have gathered, the effort phase, is allowed to mix, settle, and fuse in the subconscious. To practice this, you have to master the art of the strategic exit. A strategic exit is when you are at the height of a difficult task and you intentionally walk away while you are still stuck. This feels counterintuitive. Our culture tells us never quit and finish what you start. But if you want a breakthrough, you have to quit the conscious search so the subconscious search can begin. Imagine you are working on a difficult piece of writing, or a complex math problem, or even a difficult conversation in a relationship. You feel that heat in your head, that cognitive friction we talked about. Instead of pushing for another hour, you stand up. You leave the room. You go for a walk without your phone. What happens in those next 30 minutes is where the magic lives. Because you have primed your brain with the problem, your default mode network is now working on it in the background. But it can only do this because you have removed the noise of the executive network. You have given the backflow room to move. This is why sleeping on it is such a powerful tool. Sleep is the ultimate incubation period. It is the time when your brain moves information from short-term clutter into long-term insight. In 2026, we have a new enemy to this incubation: dopamine pollution. We are constantly feeding our brains cheap, fast-acting dopamine through short-form content and instant notifications. Every time you check your phone during a break, you aren't actually taking a break. You are just giving your executive network a different, noisier task to focus on. You are resetting the incubation clock back to zero. To truly leverage the paradox of effort, you must introduce low dopamine activities into your day. These are activities that are boring to the ego but oxygen to the insight mind. Walking without music, doing the dishes by hand, staring at a wall for 5 minutes. These are not wasted minutes. They are the warmth that allows the egg to hatch. This leads us to the framework of rhythmic stillness. If you look at the life of someone like Charles Darwin or Albert Einstein, they didn't work 16-hour days. They usually had 3 or 4 hours of intense, high-focus work in the morning, followed by long, winding walks, afternoon naps, and hours of reading or letter writing. They understood that the work is not just the time spent at the desk. The work is the entire cycle. Think of your life like a heart. A heart that only contracts the squeeze is a heart that is dying. A heart that only expands the release is a heart that is not pumping. Life requires the rhythm of both. In our current culture, we have become contraction-heavy. We think that if we just contract harder, we will pump more blood. But we have forgotten the expansion. Rhythmic stillness is the practice of scheduling your rest with the same intensity that you schedule your work. It is the understanding that your off time is the fuel for your on time. But there is a final, deeper level to this paradox. It is the level of non-striving. This is a concept found in ancient Taoist philosophy called Wu Wei, or effortless action. It is the idea of being so aligned with the flow of a situation that you are not trying to do anything. You are simply allowing the action to happen through you. Think of a top-tier athlete in the zone, a basketball player like Steph Curry or a footballer like Messi. When they are at their absolute best, they aren't thinking about the mechanics of their muscles. They aren't trying to score. In fact, if they start trying, if they start thinking about their form or the crowd or the score, they usually miss. They succeed because they have moved beyond effort. They have surrendered to the years of training they have already done. You have already done the training. You have the knowledge. You have the skills. But your striving, your desperate need for the result, is the very thing creating the hiccup in your performance. Non-striving is the act of trusting your preparation. It is the act of saying, I have put in the work, now I will let the work show itself. This requires a radical shift in how we measure success. We have been trained to measure success by exertion. We ask ourselves, did I work hard today? Am I tired? Did I suffer? If the answer is yes, we feel good. But that is a false metric. The true metric of a breakthrough life is quality of insight. 1 hour of non-striving flow state is worth 10 hours of white-knuckle grind. One singular, quiet insight found during a walk is worth 1,000 pages of forced research. We have to stop being effort addicts. We have to stop being in love with the struggle and start being in love with the truth. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to give you a challenge for the next 48 hours. I want you to identify the one area of your life where you are squeezing the egg the hardest. Maybe it is a project you are stuck on, a goal you are obsessed with, or even a person you are trying to change. I want you to intentionally let the situation be what it is for a moment. Walk away. Stop the search. Stop the over-optimization. Give yourself the incubation period you have been denying yourself. The paradox of effort tells us that the door we have been trying to kick down for years is actually a door that opens toward us. All the kicking and screaming and pushing only keeps the door shut. It is only when we take a step back, when we stop pushing, that the door can finally swing open. Your greatest breakthroughs are not on the other side of more work. They are on the other side of a deeper surrender. They are waiting for you in the rhythmic stillness. They are waiting for the moment you finally decide to stop playing The Sims with your life and start living it for real. The world does not need more exhausted people hustling toward a mental plateau. The world needs people who are rested, insightful, and flowing. It needs people who have mastered the paradox. So take a breath, close the laptop, walk away from the screen, and let the breakthrough find you. Think about the sheer amount of energy we waste on a daily basis. We wake up, and before our feet even touch the floor, we are checking our inboxes, glancing at news feeds, and checking the performance metrics of our own lives. We have turned our minds into an operating system that is constantly running in the background, consuming power and memory for no useful outcome. We need to understand that this is not how the human psyche was designed to operate. Throughout history, philosophers and creators have always pointed to the same truth. The best work is produced when we step out of our own way. Think of the Renaissance masters. They did not sit around measuring their productivity per hour. They would spend days just staring into the distance, mixing pigments, walking through the gardens, or engaging in deep philosophical conversations. These moments were not distractions. They were the actual core of their creative work. When you spend your time filling every single second with content, you are essentially washing away the soil before the seeds have had a chance to germinate. You need to give yourself permission to be bored. You need to give yourself permission to step away from the optimization loop that defines the year 2026. Let us go deeper into what it means to enter this expansive mode. When you stop utilizing the executive control network and allow the default mode network to take over, you are accessing a massive repository of memory, emotion, and experience. Your brain is an associative machine. It loves connecting ideas that seem completely unrelated, but it cannot do this if you are constantly forcing it to focus on one single point. Imagine you are looking at a beautiful landscape painting. If you put your nose right up to the canvas, you only see the brush strokes and the texture of the paint. You don't see the mountain, the sky, or the river. You lose the perspective. This is exactly what happens when you white-knuckle your goals. You are too close to the canvas. You are so focused on the tiny details that you lose sight of the grand design. Strategic detachment gives you the distance. It allows you to step back from the canvas and see the entire picture. It is only from this vantage point that you can make the connections that lead to genuine innovation. Let us look at the concept of rhythmic stillness in the context of modern daily routines. You do not have to go to a retreat in the woods or quit your job to achieve rhythmic stillness. You can build it into your everyday life. Start by designating the first hour of your morning to analog activities. Do not touch your phone. Do not check your email. Allow your mind to wake up naturally in silence while you drink your coffee or take a walk. This simple act of analog waking creates a buffer between you and the demands of the world. It sets the tone for the entire day, allowing your mind to remain expansive rather than reactive. Next, reevaluate your relationship with your workspace. If you find yourself staring at your computer and feeling that familiar wave of frustration, do not try to fight it. Simply close the laptop and step away for 15 minutes. Go outside, look at the trees, or do some stretching. This movement shifts the blood flow in your body and signals to your brain that the immediate pressure is off. This break gives the subconscious the permission it needs to work on the problem in the background. It is an investment in the quality of your output. Consider the word surrender again. It is a very powerful word. Most people view it as giving up, but true surrender is active acceptance of reality. It is saying, I have done everything I can, and now I will let the system do the rest. This acceptance removes the performance anxiety that chokes out your creativity. Performance anxiety comes from your ego's desire to look good in front of others. When you remove that desire, when you make the work for yourself and for the joy of creation, the pressure disappears. Let us also reflect on how the 2026 digital landscape is designed to make us dependent on external validation. We look at the number of views, the number of likes, the comments, and we use those metrics to determine our value as a creator or as a professional. But this validation is a trap. It forces us to create content or work that pleases the algorithm or the crowd, rather than creating work that is authentic and true to our own voice. When you follow the paradox of effort and start practicing strategic detachment, you are insulating yourself from this trap. You are returning to the source of your own intuition. Let us carry this realization forward. You are an innovator in the making. You are setting up your foundation in the year 2026, a time when most people are losing themselves in the noise. You have the tools, the knowledge, and the insight. All you need now is the discipline to stop, to be still, and to allow the breakthrough to emerge. The secret is not more effort. The secret is knowing when to let go. Stop fighting the current, step back from the screen, walk away from the optimization. Embrace the stillness and let the backflow of your own genius carry you to where you actually want to go. Surrender to the breakthrough and start leveraging the silent logic of the paradox. Your next massive jump is closer than you think, but you will never find it as long as you are chasing it. Stop. Breathe. Let it find you. Consider how we relate to our environment in the information age. It is not merely the devices we hold, but the underlying assumption that more information yields better decisions. We suffer from a severe case of data obesity. We are consuming thousands of bytes of information every single hour, yet our wisdom levels are dropping. Why? Because information without assimilation is merely clutter. To break this cycle, you must create an intellectual fasting period. Just as your body requires a break from digestion to repair its cells, your mind requires a break from data consumption to repair its neural pathways. When you deny your brain an intellectual fasting period, you create a state of chronic mental fatigue. This fatigue manifests in several ways. You lose your ability to distinguish between important tasks and trivial ones. You become irritable, and your capacity to handle novel situations diminishes. Intellectual fasting means blocking out specific periods of the day where no new information is allowed to enter. It means reading a physical book instead of scrolling through an algorithmic feed. It means taking a walk without listening to a podcast. It means having a meal with a friend without checking the phone once. These simple practices may seem insignificant, but they are radical acts of rebellion against the 2026 status quo. Let us dive even deeper into the default mode network and how we can consciously stimulate it. When we talk about expansive mode, we are talking about bringing the brain into a state of unfocused focus. This is the exact opposite of the hyperfocus that is so highly praised in corporate environments. There is a beautiful study in cognitive science that demonstrates the power of daydreaming. When participants are given a difficult problem to solve, and then are given a period of passive, unstimulating tasks, they consistently perform better than those who are given a period of active rest or those who are told to keep working. The passive, unstimulating tasks allow the brain's association centers to link different concepts together. The mechanism is elegant in its simplicity. When you are engaged in a passive activity, like washing the dishes, taking a shower, or tending to a garden, your brain is not idle. It is sifting through memories, comparing current problems with past experiences, and looking for patterns. It is searching for hidden connections that your conscious mind could never construct. Therefore, making time for these passive activities is not a waste of time. It is a highly strategic cognitive investment. You are literally programming your subconscious to do the heavy lifting while you take a break. Let us consider what it really means to have a breakthrough. A breakthrough is not a sudden, magical event that comes out of nowhere. It is the culmination of a long period of gestation. It is the moment when all the pieces of the puzzle, which have been floating in the subconscious, finally lock into place. But for them to lock into place, you must stop shaking the table. You shaking the table is your frantic effort. It is your constant need to check your phone, your desire to work one more hour, your obsession with getting everything perfect on the first try. You must learn to stop shaking the table. You must let the pieces settle into their proper places. We also need to address the psychological underpinnings of the hustle culture. Why do we feel so guilty when we are not producing? It stems from a deeply ingrained societal conditioning that equates idleness with worthlessness. We have been taught since childhood that time is money, and that any time not spent generating economic value is time wasted. This conditioning is so strong that even when we are on vacation, we feel a low-level anxiety because we are not achieving anything. We feel the need to visit every museum, take every photo, and document every moment to prove that we are doing something. But true leisure, as the ancient Greeks understood it, is not the absence of work in order to work more efficiently later. Leisure is an end in itself. It is the state in which we contemplate the beauty of the world, deepen our relationships, and integrate our experiences. When we strip leisure of its economic utility, we restore it to its rightful place as the highest form of human activity. We must redefine success for ourselves. Success in 2026 should not be measured by the size of your bank account, the number of your followers, or the speed of your responses. Success should be measured by the depth of your insight, the quality of your relationships, and the peace of your mind. If you are successful by all conventional metrics but you are completely burned out, disconnected from yourself, and unable to think an original thought, you are not successful. You are a failure in the most fundamental sense. You have traded your soul for a metric that does not matter. It is time to make the shift. It is time to step out of the optimization trap and into the flow. It is time to embrace the paradox of effort and realize that by letting go, you are actually taking control. Let us recap the core steps you need to take to engineer rhythmic stillness in your life. First, introduce an incubation period. When you feel stuck at the peak of frustration, intentionally walk away. Trust that your subconscious will continue to work on the problem while you are away. Second, embrace low dopamine activities. Put the phone away. Seek out boredom. Let your mind wander without artificial stimulation. Third, recalibrate your success metrics. Measure your success by the quality of your insights rather than the quantity of your hours. Fourth, practice non-striving. Do the work with dedication and focus, but detach yourself from the ego's need for immediate results. Fifth, recognize the biological limit of your prefrontal cortex. Do not push through cognitive fatigue. Recognize that pushing through will only result in garbage work and lower your output tomorrow. Let us reflect on the ultimate power of non-striving. When you enter a state of non-striving, you are not being passive in a negative sense. You are being receptive. You are like a riverbed that is open and ready to receive the water. The problem with most of us is that we are like a concrete wall. We are rigid, we are inflexible, and we try to stop the flow of life rather than working with it. We want to be in complete control of every single outcome, and when the world does not bend to our will, we become frustrated and exhausted. But life is a wave. You cannot force a wave to go faster or slower. You can only learn to surf it. When you learn to surf the wave of human creativity, you stop fighting the current and start using the energy of the wave to propel you forward. This is the true meaning of the backflow of progress. You use the data you have gathered during the effort phase, and then you let the natural movement of the universe carry you to the breakthrough. Let us talk about performance anxiety and how it distorts your thinking. When you are too attached to a specific result, you create a high-stakes environment in your mind. Every step becomes a potential failure. Every decision becomes a potential disaster. This constant state of high alert is called performance anxiety. It is the reason why musicians make mistakes during a live performance, why athletes choke under pressure, and why you fail to come up with a creative solution when you need it the most. The only way to overcome performance anxiety is to detach yourself from the outcome. Focus entirely on the process. Focus on the joy of writing the sentence, the satisfaction of solving the equation, the beauty of painting the canvas. When you make the process the reward, the anxiety disappears. We must also look at the role of AI-assisted workflows in our 2026 reality. There is no doubt that these tools are powerful. They can save you hours of work, but their greatest danger is that they can make us think that everything can be automated, everything can be optimized, and everything can be predicted. They make us believe that human creativity is just a matter of combining inputs in a slightly different way. But human creativity is not a combination of inputs. It is the expression of your unique perspective on the world. It is the synthesis of your emotions, your experiences, your values, and your understanding. No machine can ever replicate that. The more we rely on these tools to optimize our lives, the more we must double down on our humanity. We must double down on our ability to feel, to observe, to be silent, and to think original thoughts. Let us go back to the idea of the white-knuckle grip. It is a grip that comes from fear. We are afraid that if we do not squeeze tightly enough, we will lose what we have. But the truth is the exact opposite. When you hold a handful of sand, the tighter you squeeze, the more sand slips through your fingers. It is only when you open your hand, when you hold it gently and openly, that the sand remains in your palm. Your breakthroughs are like that sand. If you try to hold them with force, with anger, and with exhaustion, they will slip away. You must open your hand. You must let them be. Consider how your mind behaves when you are in a state of rhythmic stillness. You notice the small things. You notice the way the light filters through the leaves of a tree. You notice the subtle changes in the mood of a friend. You notice the underlying assumptions that govern your life and your work. You start to see the world as it is, not as your ego wants it to be. And it is from this place of clear observation that the greatest insights come. Let us look at the story of Albert Einstein once again. When he was working in the patent office, he was not surrounded by an army of hyperproductive creators. He was not using productivity apps or tracking his time. He was sitting at a desk, reviewing mundane inventions. He had hours of quiet time, Hours where he could look out the window and let his mind wander through the universe. He was in a state of rhythmic stillness. He was in a state of non-striving. And it was in that stillness that he came up with the theories that revolutionized our understanding of space and time. He did not force the theories into existence. He simply made himself available for them. You too must make yourself available for your own breakthroughs. You must create the conditions for them to happen. You must build a life where there is room for silence, room for boredom, and room for thought. We are living in an era of unprecedented opportunity, but also unprecedented distraction. The choice is yours. You can continue to run on the treadmill to squeeze every second of your day to be busy, exhausted, and stuck. Or you can take a step back. You can embrace the paradox of effort. You can decide to become a human being rather than a human doing. The world doesn't need more exhausted people hustling toward a mental plateau. The world needs people who are rested, insightful, and flowing. It needs people who have mastered the paradox. So take a breath, close the laptop, walk away from the screen, and let the breakthrough find you. Your next massive jump is closer than you think, but you will never find it as long as you are chasing it. Stop, breathe, let it find you. Thank you all for being part of this community and for choosing depth over the noise. Let's keep challenging the status quo together. I want to keep this library of wisdom growing. If there is a specific book or a big idea you want me to turn into an audiobook deep dive in our next video, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and your suggestions drive the channel. If you found value in today's deep dive, make sure to subscribe to stay tuned so you don't miss any videos. Leave your ideas down below, and I will see you in the next video. Stay calm, stay detached, and keep creating.